Welcome to Liberty Nation TV. This is your host, Scott Cosenza, and I'm joined by Mark Angelides, Liberty Nation's managing editor and resident of the United Kingdom. Thank you for joining us, Mark.
Pleasure, Scott.
Well, we have the COVID-19 everywhere now, and in the UK as well, and a restriction of rights seems to go along with the virus in most of the countries where it has stricken, and the UK is no different, and Europe. The countries of Europe is no different, and that's what you're here to weigh in on. So what is the current situation? We're at the end of March now as a timestamp, and what is the current situation in the UK and Europe regarding these the loss of freedoms, Mark?
Okay, it's just been announced that the social distancing guidelines, as they're known, will be enforced for a longer period of time, for some people up to 3 months by the looks of it. News is going around that there's going to be a letter sent from Boris Johnson or from the government requesting that people follow these guidelines to stay indoors. Now, in terms of what's happening in the UK is you can only leave your house presently for one period of exercise or for shopping when necessary if you're not a key worker. Now, the enforcement of that is an entirely another matter, which I'm sure we'll come to.
Mark, it seems to me like what would be sound regulations for somebody who perhaps lives in central London may not be sound regulation for somebody who lives, a mile from the cliffs of Dover. So is there room in a unitary government like you have there for such variations? I mean, why should somebody who lives in the country not be able to leave their house?
Well, here's the thing. You and I have talked about this before, Scott, but it's a lack of intelligence being applied to the law. So you have London at the moment is the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has restricted the public transport, which means that what we're seeing every morning is packed tube trains, packed underground trains. And these are all the apparently key workers going to their jobs.
This seems to be like a part of maybe this is an undiscovered part of the virus that you and I can claim credit for, Mark, because a lot of the politicians in America have done so as well. You'd think that they would want expanded use and just say, hey, if there's only one person or four people per car, well, that's fine. We need the distance, right? That's a cost that we can just throw onto one of the many costs that are required to sort of maintain safety and bear this burden.
Yes. So sadly, the amount of people crammed into these carriages, these are apparently the key workers, and they'll be at most risk from infection because they're in these cramped conditions, trying to get to the hospitals, to supermarkets, wherever they're working.
And you see this as an assault on liberty? Why is that?
Well, there are several things. Firstly, what we've noticed is that the police are now engaged in setting drones to follow people walking their dogs in the countryside, in these clear areas. Yeah. They're recording them and naming and shaming them, putting the videos out on their Twitter feeds, their social media accounts.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And people are being issued fines for being in larger groups than 2-3 people. They're being fined.
Is that a greater or lesser offense than misgendering somebody on social media in the UK?
Surely less.
Okay.
And then, of course, there are certain police forces around the country have set up online databases where you can report your neighbors. And for me, this is the most terrifying thing. It's reminiscent of East Germany at the worst of times, where up to a third of all East German residents were informing to the Stasi. And so we've got this situation now, and what I'm seeing is that these databases that are being set up, they've already crashed from the sheer volume they're having to deal with.
Well, thank you for the wrap up, Mark, and our condolences to you folks across the pond for your loss of liberty. We're struggling against attempts at our own, and we'll all have to keep a stiff upper lip. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, folks. Lisa K. Donner here, editor-in-chief of LibertyNation.com. We hope you enjoyed watching this video, maybe even learned a thing or two. If so, please take a moment and subscribe to our YouTube channel right down there in the corner. Thanks so much.